Sad news over the weekend. The Detroit Tigers fall to the Cleveland Gar Indians. And they unfortunately, I think they went out with a bit of a whimper. Tarek Skubal pitched one of the worst games he's pitched all year. Gave up the grand slam in, I don't remember what inning it was. It was maybe the fifth or sixth, something like that. Uh, Basically, at that point, the game was over. Lane Thomas, I hate you, and I will never forgive you unless you come and play for the Tigers. Then I'll forgive you. Unless you're bad for the Tigers, then I'll hate you even more. But the season ends ultimately, and I know there was a lot of Tiger sadness over the weekend and then into Monday of just like, oh my gosh, I'm so upset. I can't believe it. We lost. We were up 2-1. We were one win away from an ALCS berth. We would have had more playoff games in Detroit. We blew the second playoff game at home. We could have done it. We should have done it. Let's all relax. This season was a success. There's no other way of putting it. Now, there's some kind of doomer-ish like Tiger fans that just love being angry. And look, I don't love being angry, and I don't get mad at people when they are angry at their team for not winning. But I can't be angry about this because I'm a results guy. If you get to the playoffs, I don't care how you do it. I don't care. You can go out and spend $1 gazillion. You take the team to the playoffs. You can go out and spend a pittance and develop guys and have random guys show up and bat really well. And doesn't matter to me. You make the playoffs, that's a success. Especially, you end a 10-year drought. Last time the Tigers had made the playoffs prior to this year, I was going into my freshman year of high school. Okay. So that's usually not a great stat to have. But not only do you break that, you break the Tigers' wins in the playoffs. So you get your first win since 2013, which is even earlier. And then, even more than that, you also get your first series win, beating the Astros on the road in a 3-game set. Didn't even need 3 games. You beat them in 2. And then you get your home playoff win. So you end that drought of no playoff wins at home since 2003. Like you get the monkey off your back. And now it's time to be serious. Needs for this offseason. Very simple. Lock up your core guys. Tarek Skubal, Riley Green, frankly, even Parker Meadows. You don't necessarily need to pay Parker Meadows, at least not immediately, because I don't really know what his contract situation is or his arbitration deal. But Riley Green and Tarek Skubal, those are your 2 all-stars this past year. Those are your 2 probably best players overall. I think those guys should be getting, extensions. I really do. Riley Green, really solid in the outfield, can play left, can play right, can play center, and a really solid above-average hitter with a little bit of pop in his bat. This regular season, he had I believe, a career high in home runs. He had 24 home runs, 74 RBIs. He was an 827 OPS hitter. Very good hitter, very solid player, team guy, great on defense as well. And Tarek Skubal speaks for himself. He's the best pitcher in baseball. There's no world where you don't pay that guy whatever amount that he wants to get paid. He is a superstar. He was part of the reason that you even made the playoffs because your pitching staff just went into beast mode, and he was the best part of that. So lock those guys up. Next thing you got to do, bring in some veteran bats. And I said this last year, but they didn't listen to me. So hopefully now you made the playoffs. Now you listen to me. I hear a guy like Alex Bregman wants a job. I hear a guy like Christian Walker wants a job. Maybe, depending on how this postseason ends up going for the Mets, maybe you give Pete Alonso a call. I'm not saying any of these guys are realistic necessarily. I think an Alex Bregman is probably more realistic than the others. But, there are options. And you need to bring in some of these bats because as much as I actually do kind of like Matt Vierling in this lineup, I think he's a solid baseball player and you can put him in a variety of places. He is not the solution. Okay. When he is your veteran presence, when he is your elder statesman, not going to do it for you. Frankly, even the same applies to Jake Rogers. Jake Rogers had a great postseason. No doubt about it. Jake Rogers is one of the best hitters on this lineup in the postseason. But he's not an elite catcher. He's very good defensively. Gold Glove nominee. So I have no qualms with keeping him on the team because he's very, very good on the defensive side. he's not a good hitter. He's just not. He has a little bit of a pop, but he's not he doesn't bring you over the edge from the offensive standpoint. So I don't really know what the catcher's market is. Maybe you look at some of these catchers. If none of them are really, eye popping, then maybe you just hope for some development from Dylan Dingler, and go from there. You might just have a hole at your catcher spot, which not ideal, but there just might not be anybody realistically that's available. There's also Brent Rooker, of I guess going soon to be the Sacramento A's. I don't really know if they're going to officially change their name to that or what they're going to do. But Brent Rooker could certainly be a trade option. He can play a lot of positions. He's kind of basically just a DH, but I mean, I'd rather Brent Rooker in my lineup than Zach McKinstry. I'll just say that. Like Brent Rooker does a whole lot more offensively than Zach McKinstry does on a consistent basis. So basically, I don't want to necessarily have to leave things up to the Zach McKinstrys, to the Matt Vierlings, even, and I know this might be controversial, even the Andy Ibanez's of the world. I like Andy Ibanez. He's a lefty killer. He's fun, but he's just not consistent enough of a guy. He's a good platoon guy. He's a good guy to have in your depth, but he's not a guy you want to start a game with. And he's not a guy that can reliably start games with you and be a part of the lineup the whole way through, right? But a guy like Brent Rooker, a guy like Christian Walker, a guy like Pete Alonso, those guys, they definitely can stay in a lineup the whole time. They can hit righties, they can hit everybody. All right. You know what's more valuable than a guy who can only hit lefties? A guy who can hit both lefties and righties. Simple as. Now, the other point I had to make here as well is to continue to develop your guys. Look, I alluded to it. Trey Sweeney, Dylan Dingler, Chase Young, they still need some work, right? Dylan Dingler didn't play a single postseason game. He just wasn't putting up the numbers. Chase Young played a few, and it was not good. Trey Sweeney, similar deal. Pretty good on defense, and maybe if you extrapolate some of the numbers he put together in the regular season, it might turn out that he's a pretty solid player overall, but offensively, the bat is just not there. Now, there were some concerning comments said by one Scott Harris, president of baseball operations, where he alluded to Javi Baez having a role. Now, I am a man of action. I don't care what you could say, bibbity boppity boo. It doesn't matter to me. What does the team actually look like? How does the team actually perform? It does not matter to me what you say. It does not matter to me, how you said it. I can be bothered by it, but ultimately, actions speak far louder than words, especially in sports. So, if his comments are legit, I simply do not understand why Javi Baez needs to be on this team. The team got better once he died, basically. Once he was done for the season, the team instantly got better. Now, you might say, well, it wasn't just because of him. The pitching was really good, and it wasn't like the offense was started lighting up, but blah, 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 blah. All right? You bring up Trey Sweeney, you instantly have an upgrade at the position. Because even for as not great as Trey Sweeney was, he was better than Javi Baez. Because Javi Baez was the single worst shortstop in baseball. Like, that played out. Like, the whole, like, you could replace him with anybody, and you would be better off at the position. And on all facets, right? That played out in real time. When Javi Baez goes down, you bring in a nobody like Trey Sweeney, and he goes off for you. Or I say goes off for you, as in he plays slightly above average in some games and has a little bit of pop, potentially. Like, if you can develop Trey Sweeney and he can be your everyday shortstop, then great, you're ahead of schedule. You don't have to worry about paying a guy. You don't got to worry about Javi Baez will just not have a job because he's not going to be able to outcompete Trey Sweeney. Right? Like if Trey Sweeney is an above average shortstop, he's just going to beat Javi Baez every single time. It's not going to, like, if he can play defense, if he can hit, well, Javi Baez, you have no purpose on this team. So hopefully that is what Scott Harris ends up doing. As far as arms as well, obviously you're always going to need pitching. Maybe you give Jack Flaherty a call. I'm sure he would love to go back to Detroit. We'll see what ends up happening with him in LA. Because if he wins in LA, it's a very good shot that he just re-signs with them, sticks around there, and I totally would get that as well. But you find some pitchers. Hopefully, you make up for the awful Kenta Maeda signing. But overall, Scott Harris has done a pretty good job of finding good pitchers. He brought back Andrew Chafin, brought in Michael Lorenzen. He had an all-star year. Jack Flaherty, of course, he speaks for himself, had a really great year, a really great half a year or so with Detroit, revived his career. And I'm sure we'll probably find another one of those guys because Chris Fetter is just a wizard, and he just makes every single pitcher better that comes here. So with that, though, I will end this Tiger talk for at least for now. I'm sure we'll bring back some more Tiger talk as the offseason fully happens. But look, it takes a man to admit when he's wrong. I was wrong about this Tiger team. I went into this season. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. Thought maybe they could be above 500, but I didn't think they did enough to help boost the offense. And while I was correct, they did not do enough to help boost the offense because the offense still sucked. I underestimated just how good this pitching staff could be. I underestimated just how good Tarek Skubal could be. And I underestimated A.J. Hinch. He has really won his way back into Detroit faithful. He has won his reputation back. He has shown to be one of the top managers in baseball, one of the best baseball minds. And so I hope that he sticks around and, finally we can get this team going. Because I think fans, now the expectations start. I think fans are hungry. We saw how great those crowds were on Comerica Park and those nights. And when they got that first win, the city was electric. Everything was on en fuego in Detroit for baseball. And I would love to see that place packed every weekend over this next summer. But you're going to need to make some investments. You're going to need to fix this team. You're going to need to fill the holes, bring up some guys, bring some swagger to the city and to the team that gives them more of an identity, that they're not just sort of known as the nobodies, basically. Like, you can do that. It's a fun gimmick, but maybe even have a little fun. Bring a star. And I say a star, like Alex Bregman is, Derek Jeter. Bring a name. Bring somebody to help get people to the ballpark. Bring as they say a ticket guy. Bring a guy who you have on the picture of the ticket. I know they have like digital tickets now, so they don't really do this anymore. But bring a ticket guy. Bring a Jersey guy. A guy, and I don't mean a guy from Jersey. I mean a guy who people are going to buy that jersey. And overall, just bring good players. Ultimately, that's the main thing that matters. But you bring a good player, you bring a Jersey guy. Simple as. So great year though for Detroit. Great year for the Tigers, and I'm hoping that they can bounce off of this. They can use this as the jumping off point to far greater successes, i.e. World Series successes in the future. Hi, it's me again. If you enjoyed what you just saw, hit the like and subscribe button. We do live shows every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there.